Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at BT08, and BT08 offers us lots of new and powerful cards to build and iterate on some new and existing decks. And today's deck I'm going to be taking a look at is going to be a new iteration of the MaloMyotismon deck. So MaloMyotismon and Myotismon synergies as a whole have kind of not really been a super powerful or popular thing, but with the new MaloMyotismon, we have lots of new ways to be able to utilize our cards to basically just be able to have an undying level 6 Digimon that's always going to be coming back in various different ways, on top of the fact that he wants to be playing with some self-mill synergy, which is getting some more support in the set, to act as a really solid way to try to help set up our trash to make our plays as powerful and efficient as they possibly can be, because this is a classic purple deck and purple does like having a nice full trash for us to have access to. So with all that said and done, without further ado, onto the profile. Starting off with the Digitama, I'm going to be running 4 copies of DemiMeramon. So this is the BT03 version of DemiMeramon, and I personally still prefer trying to draw and discard rather than blindly self-milling. And DemiMeramon is an absolutely fantastic Digitama to help with that, with his on-delete inheritable ability of allowing us to draw 1 card and discard 1 card from our hand, not only helping us dig through our deck, but set up our trash with the specific cards that we need. But I'm going to be running 1 copy of DemiMeramon from BT08 as the off Digitama. It could really be anything you want, but because we already are playing with some self-mill synergies, this is just a good payout for self-milling ourselves. So his inheritable ability states that during your turn, once per turn, when a card is trashed from our deck, then we get to draw 1 card, acting as a solid payout to self-milling ourselves. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Gabumon. So I, again, still prefer drawing and discarding, and Gabumon is one of the best cards to help us draw and discard because he has this nice on-delete ability where we get to draw 2 cards and then discard 1 card. So him combined with DemiMeramon allows us to essentially draw 3 and discard 2 to not only just dig through our deck faster, but to try to help fill up our trash faster as well, on top of the fact that MaloMyotismon has traditionally wanted to be a Digimon that has some really good Digimon that can delete themselves to be able to trigger these on-delete inheritable abilities easier than other decks. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Gazimon. So Gazimon is going to be acting as the anti-meta floodgate card to try to stop the opponent's memory manipulating shenanigans. So his all turns ability states that the opponent can't gain memory except by Tamer effects, so they're going to have to deal with Gazimon if they're going to want to gain any form of memory off of their Digimon and options to make their plays more powerful or efficient. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Tsukaimon. So this is the BT03 version of Tsukaimon, and this Tsukaimon is in the deck just because he has another on-delete inheritable ability for us to try to take advantage of, where we get to gain 1 memory. So we could utilize this either offensively or defensively. Defensively means that it's basically going to act as a de-incentivization tool to stop the opponent from wanting to attack into your Digimon or delete your Digimon, otherwise you'll basically tax them with an extra memory. And we could use this offensively to make our plays more powerful because we have multiple different ways to try to delete our Digimon ourselves to gain the benefit from this ability. And then the last rookie of the deck is going to be 4 copies of Labramon. So this is a flex spot for the deck. It could really be any rookie you feel like you want to use. I just feel like Labramon is always a really good card to use because while we're building up a Digimon and raising, we could use its on-play ability to draw 1 card and discard 1 card from our hand, acting as that looting type tool for us to try to dig through our deck and set up our trash faster. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Devimon. So this is the BT02 version of Devimon, and this card is really good because not only does it have the retaliation ability native to it to try to attack into the opponent's suspended Digimon to try to delete them, especially if they're larger than him, but he also gives the retaliation ability with his inheritable ability being retaliation to make whatever higher level Digimon we're using with him a little bit more annoying for the opponent to deal with. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Eyesmon Scatter Mode. So Eyesmon Scatter Mode is a payout Digimon to wanting to draw and discard a lot because, well, he has an on-delete ability himself of drawing 3 and discarding 2. So the ideal stack with Eyesmon is going to be using DemiMeramon Gabumon into an Eyesmon, so that way when Eyesmon gets deleted, we get to draw 6 cards and discard 4 cards. That's just seeing a lot of cards all at once and being able to set up our trash rather together efficiently off of seeing lots of different cards in our hand, while still gaining some additional benefit of netting extra cards into our hand. Next, I'm going to be running one copy of Eyesmon. So Eyesmon, even though it is limited to one and we can only run one copy of this card, is still just a really good card to use because it's acting as a good payout for discarding cards, on top of being a very strong level 4 Digimon. So what this card is doing that's making him so good is when you trash him from our hand, utilizing one of our card effects, if we have an Eyesmon scatter mode in our trash, then we could play this Digimon for free. So free value is always good value, and the reason why he was limited was because he could set up some insane power plays that only got better in BT08. But regardless, he's still just a really strong level 4 for us to use, because for each Eyesmon scatter mode in our trash, then this Digimon gains plus 2000 DP, so he could hit 7 to 9 to even higher relatively easily, based on how many scatter modes are in our trash. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Soulmon. So Soulmon is another payout card very similar to DemiMeramon, because his inheritable ability states that during your turn once per turn, when a card is trashed from our deck, then we get to gain 1 memory to make whatever card we were using to trash from our deck a little bit more efficient. Next, on to the ultimates, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Mummymon. So Mummymon is one of the older Malo tools that we want to be using because it has some interaction with bringing back our MaloMyotismon from our trash. So his win attacking ability states that we get to pay 3 memory to play 1 MaloMyotismon from our trash without paying its memory cost, and then we have to delete this Digimon. Deleting this Digimon isn't the worst thing in the world because we have some really good on delete based synergies that we could take advantage of to have them trigger off of this ability, on top of the fact that MaloMyotismon being able to play him from the trash is still really good because, well, we're trying to set up a whole bunch of Myotismons in our trash to be able to utilize them in various different ways. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Myotismon. So this is the brand new Myotismon to come out with BT08, and this card is one of the glues to the deck that really help tie it all together. So he has a nice when digivolving ability where we get to trash the top 2 cards of our deck for that self-mill strategy and self-mill based synergy. Then we get to play 1 Yukio from our trash for free. So he's not only just helping us fill up our trash, but being able to play our Tamer, which is something that MaloMyotismon wants because it's an alternative way to be able to play our MaloMyotismons. Then he also has a nice inheritable ability of On Delete, where if this Digimon has Myotismon in its name, then we get to play 1 Yukio from our hand for free, suspended without paying its memory cost. So again, he's just trying to help set up our Tamer to do what the Tamer needs to be doing to help make the deck flow and function. And then the last level 5 of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Myotismon. So this is the Classic Collection version of Myotismon, and this is still just a pretty decent card because if we do just need to go up the chain and digivolve into our MaloMyotismons, then he helps us with that, where he has this ability where during your turn, when this Digimon would digivolve into a Digimon with Myotismon in its name from our hand, then we get to reduce the memory cost of that Digivolution. Then he has a nice inheritable ability where during your turn, while this Digimon has Myotismon in its name, all of your Digimon with Retaliation can also attack into the opponent's unsuspended Digimon that's level 4 or lower. So we're not necessarily trying to play around with Retaliation a whole lot, but we do have some instances of Retaliation and the ability to give Retaliation to our higher stage Digimon to take advantage of this ability thanks to our Devimon. Next, on to the level 6s, I'm going to be running 2 copies of MaloMyotismon. So this is the BT03 version of MaloMyotismon, and it's still a decent card to be using, even though it's not going to be the main mega we want to be utilizing. So it is a little bit expensive to digivolve into, but that's why we have cards like Mummymon and Myotismon to try to help making digivolving into them a little bit easier. But the reward for utilizing this card is the fact that he natively has the piercing ability, which is something very uncommon in purple decks. Then he has a nice all turns ability that we really want to take advantage of, where when another Digimon is deleted, then we get to gain 1 memory from our trash for each Digimon being deleted. So it's just a good way at rewarding us for deleting the opponent's Digimon with some extra memory gain. And the crazy thing is this does see Mummymon get deleted when you use him off of Mummimon's ability, so it's actually costing 2 to play this MaloMyotismon from our trash off of Mummymon. But the main MaloMyotismon that we're going to be trying to take advantage of is going to be the brand new BT08 version of MaloMyotismon as the main Mega, which is why I'm going to be running 4 copies of him. So what this MaloMyotismon is doing is he has 2 insane abilities that we could use. So his first is an on-play ability, where if there are 5 or more cards with Myotismon in their name in our trash, then we get to delete one of the opponent's unsuspended Digimon and trash the top card of their security stack. So we want to have lots of Myotismons in our trash to utilize this MaloMyotismon's on-play ability, which again, Mummymon could res off of his when attacking ability. Then on top of that, he has a when digivolving ability for when we want to digivolve into him, where we get to trash the top 5 cards of our deck. Then if we have a card with Myotismon in its name in our trash, then we get to gain 1 memory to make going into this MaloMyotismon a little bit more efficient when we decide to digivolve into him. Next, on to the options, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Pandemonium Flame. So Pandemonium Flame is a 2-costed purple option with the main ability where you get to delete one of your Digimon to delete one of the opponent's unsuspended Digimon with a level that's equal to or less than the Digimon you deleted. So this is just the big hard removal of the deck, just because we want to actually delete our MaloMyotismons to try to delete their high-level Digimons, and we have ways to be able to res our MaloMyotismons to reuse them again and again, whereas the opponent might not be able to, making this one of the best removal cards that we have for the deck. And then on top of that, it has a nice security ability where we just get to delete one of the opponent's unsuspended Digimon outright. So if they're trying to attack it and aggress into us and they have unsuspend synergies, or they just have a wide field of Digimon, then this could proc and delete one of those Digimon. And then the last option of the deck I'm going to be running is 2 copies of Mist Memory Boost. So Mist Memory Boost is a flex spot in the deck. It could really be anything you want it to be, but I think Mist Memory Boost is pretty good because it's acting as another consistency tool for the deck, where its main ability states that we get to trash the top 2 cards of our deck and then draw a card. So we're trying to turbo our trash so that way we have a healthy trash count and we could try to see the cards that we need in our trash while interacting with our mill-based synergies, while having the availability of the card being able to replace itself by drawing us a card. Then on top of that, for being a memory boost, it's going to go into the battle area after it's used, so that way we could use the second main ability of delay to gain 2 memory at a later turn, and its security ability basically just puts it into the battle area, so we could utilize that delay ability when we need to. And then lastly, onto our Tamers, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Yukio. So Yukio is one of the main core pieces to how this deck wants to function because of his interaction with Myotismons and MaloMyotismon specifically. So his ability states that during all turns, when one of your Digimon with Myotismon in its name gets deleted, then we get to suspend this Tamer to gain a memory. So whether that's us deleting our own Myotismons or the opponent deleting them, it doesn't necessarily matter. We're just utilizing him to basically gain an extra memory for the act of our Myotismons going away to help either make our plays more efficient or de-incentivize the opponent from wanting to try to do it, especially since he has an ability that triggers at the end of the opponent's turn as a secondary ability, where if this Tamer is suspended, because he put himself in that suspended state to begin with, then we get to delete this Tamer to be able to play a MaloMyotismon from our trash for free, and combo this with the BT08 Myotismon to be able to constantly replay our Yukios. Makes him one of the best Tamers to use for the deck, always making sure that we'll have a MaloMyotismon on the field. And then the last Tamer of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Analog Youth. So Analog Youth is another absolutely fantastic card that has lots of synergy with how this deck wants to play. Not only is he a cheap and effective Tamer to hard play, but for hard playing him, we get to reveal the top 3 cards of our deck and add 1 Digimon among them into our hand, and then the rest go into the trash. So even this card will help us try to fill up our trash with what we want, while adding a card that we do want to try to figure out our best lines of play. Then on top of that, he has some really good synergy with the deck, where during all turns, when one of our level 5 or higher Digimon with a Digivolution source is deleted, then we get to suspend this Tamer, and if we do, we get to gain 1 memory and hatch a Digi-Egg in an empty space in our raising area. So this is an absolutely fantastic card to combo with our Mummymon, so that way when we go up our chain, Digivolve into a Mummymon, swing, Mummymon can delete himself, thus triggering analog usability. Then on top of that, we have some cards to try to want our Digimon to get deleted to make them more efficient because of this card, and this is just another de-incentivization tool for the opponent wanting to try to delete our Digimon because we could potentially gain that memory during their turn as well. So he's just another good high synergy card for the deck to try to use. And then we still have a whole bunch of other tech and tools depending on how you build the deck and what you want to incorporate. So we could think about utilizing Labramon to interact with the fact that we're trying to play our Tamers and replay our Tamers to make those lines of play more efficient. Then we also have a whole bunch of Devimons that we could think about utilizing. So we have the BT08 version of Devimon to utilize its on-play ability to dig out a Tamer and try to help fill up our trash. On top of the fact that if we're just trying to fill up our trash, we have the first promo Devimon to just straight up mill us cards and interact with that mill-based synergy. And we even have the Classic Collection version of Devimon if we are trying to lean a little bit heavier into the retaliation-based synergies. Then we do have Devimon as a fantastic level 4 for our level 5s to adopt, because if we're trying to delete our Digimon and our higher level Digimon anyway, then he'll gain us a memory back for having him be an inheritable source. And we also have the Classic Collection version of Devimon to act as another reward for having our higher level Digimon get deleted by adding a purple level 4 or lower back to our hand to reuse for later. But if you do want to be a little bit more aggressive, we could just run Genkumon Promote in the Promote package. Then if you want to lean a little bit more on the older MaloMyotismon and some of his support, then we do have our Oikawa to be able to play our MaloMyotismons from our hand instead of our trash like with Mummymon. And we do also have Rebellymon as a really good defensive level 5 for us to use, so that way we could try to discard a card, interacting with our discard-based synergies, while also having our Digimon gain the blocker and retaliation abilities to try to shut off some of the opponent's aggression. Then we do have a couple of other Myotismons for us to think about utilizing. So we could use the vanilla Myotismon just because it's a tempo efficient card for us to digivolve the stages with. And we also have the promo Myotismon to be able to use for more retaliation based synergies. Then we could be running Venom Myotismons as alternative level 6s because, well, they're still all Myotismon by name for our Myotismon based synergies. But if you wanted to run a level 7 for the deck, then we do have a couple of different options in terms of what level 7s we want to be utilizing. I think Omnimon's War is just one of the easier ones to try to help res some of our Digimon while filling up our trash at the same time. Then we have a slew of other options to just act as good utility cards. So we do have cards like Calling from the Darkness to try to delete our Digimon ourselves, interacting with the deletion-based synergy that we're already trying to lean into, while being able to add Digimon back from our trash into our hand to reuse in some various different ways. Then if we are looking for more control, then we do have Schwartz Lizards as another really good card to interact with the fact that we're already playing lots of Tamers, so we could use this to try to help act as a solid board wipe to try to delete the opponent's mid to low level Digimon. Then we do have some other utility cards in the form of Purple Memory Boost to try to help act as a solid consistency card. If you wanted to, you could run Grave Memory Boost as well, just to try to add back some Digimon from our trash back into our hand. And we even have Fight for Your Pride as a really good card to interact with our Myotismon base synergies, not only resing a level 4, so we could be more aggressive with our level 4s if we wanted to, but as long as we have a Myotismon in play, then one of our Digimon could gain the blocker ability to try to stop some of the opponent's aggression, and if they are trying to delete our Digimon, then we could use the blocker to act as another way to have our Digimon delete themselves. And then we also have Deathclaw and some other various removal options that we could run to, again, all try to delete the opponent's Digimon. Then we do have a whole bunch of various different Tamers that we could incorporate. So if you want to run a memory fixing Tamer, then we could run the BT02 Matt Ishida to just to consistently set us to 3 memory, while also being able to reuse our purple Digimon in options. Then we even have the purple starter deck Matt as a good card to combo with the fact that we want some of our Digimon to delete themselves to gain a memory for their deletion. But for the most part, this is just my interpretation of a MaloMyotismon deck in BT08, and I think that this is going to be a little bit more on the casual side that actually can surprise the opponent in a competitive environment. Do I think this deck is going to go the distance and be like tier 1? Probably not, but it's still a fun and interesting deck that's doing some very different things, that's leaning into MaloMyotismon's strengths. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.